Hello everybody, so I'm here at chess.com and I haven't signed in yet. So I was going to show you guys, you just use sign up and you enter all of this. It's just join out, it's free and easy. So now I'm just going to log in. Here. And log in. La 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 la. Okay. Learn tab. Loading. Okay, promotion is up top.
Remember, your pawns are the only pieces that cannot move backwards, so what happens when they reach the other side of the board? They get a promotion. You must trade your pawn for another piece. It can be a knight, a bishop, a rook, or the powerful queen. It cannot stay a pawn, and it cannot become a king. Also, it does not have to be one of the pieces already captured in the game. Every pawn has the potential to be promoted into a queen. You could trade it for another queen and have two queens on the board, which is incredibly powerful. Now, let's practice promoting some pawns.
Alright guys, let's practice. Nice two pawns. Can you promote one of them to the strongest piece on the next turn? So this one is nowhere near the edge of the board. This one, a step away. So we'll go there. Which when you promote it, it says the strongest possible piece on the next turn. White has pawn 3 squares away from. White has a pawn 3 squares away from its promotion. Promoting and a pawn is still on its first starting square. What's that pawn that's just 3 away? White has a pawn only 3 squares from promoting and a pawn that's still on its starting square. What is White's best pawn move to play for promotion? So you see this pawn is only 3 ones, but it's going to get stuck eventually, which we don't want. So we're going to go with this. Alright? We have a pawn race. Both sides are trying to promote the pawn as fast as they can. Which pawn should White move to win the promotion race? So it's White to move. This one is nowhere close still. It needs so much steps. But this one can't. So basically, what happens is that imagine whose turn it is. They have equal amounts of steps. They have equal amounts of squares left to move. But it depends on whose turn it is. Now it's my turn. So I would go, the first step, I would go like this. And they would go like this. And then I would reach there the fastest. And they would still be there. And that's diagonal hold. So you can capture the piece that it promotes to. That's still fun, interesting fact. This is the whole big diagonal. Now, do that. Great job. And then you can move that. Back to queen. Black's pawn is one move away from promoting. Find White's move that protects the promotion square and saves the game. So it's going to go there, of course, to promote. And where can we move this little king since it's only a piece on the board to attack this move? Remember, a king can move all of this direction. I'm just going to highlight instead of drawing arrows. This. What can attack this one? We said this square, you are correct. And then you just take it. Alright, next lesson. So why is it up a pawn, but White's most advanced pawn is blocked by a black pawn? White does have 2 pawns on the side of the board. Can you find a surprising pawn move that forces a pawn through a promotion? Why is up a pawn, but White? Alright, so this one's blocked by the black pawn, and okay, right. So as you can see, these 3 pawns, like still need to promote, but this one right over here is the closest to promoting. That's what it's saying. So what's the move it can make so that you can promote a pawn? That's a forcing one. Well, not so forcing, but it's this move. and then they take. Well, so it's not forcing because it's their turn. It's not forcing it, but then you can go there, and then you can just go up there. Lesson.
Now that you know how the chess pieces move, it's time to set up the game. Before you put the pieces on, make sure you turn the chessboard so that there's a light square in the bottom right corner. You can remember this as white on the right. The easiest way to start placing the pieces is to place all of the pawns on the second rank for each side. In chess, rank is the word for row. Let's put all of the white pawns on one side of the board and all of the black pawns on the other side. Now let's put the rooks out in the corners. Let's follow the knights next to the rooks. We'll soon learn that the knights are placed on the B and G files. In chess, file is the word for column. To continue, let's put the bishops next to the knights. And now we're left with the king and the queen. Does it matter where they go? Yes, it does. The queen always goes on the matching square. The white queen goes on the light square, and the black queen goes on the dark square. Notice they should be lined up together. Finally, put the kings on the last empty squares. Now you're ready to play. In chess, each side takes only one turn at a time, and by tradition, white always moves first. Now that the board is set up, it's your turn to practice making moves for both sides.
All right, so let's start the challenges. We are going to set up the board by placing all the white pieces on their starting squares. Let's move the white rook back into the corner dark square where it starts the game. Anyways, if it didn't even tell us that it needs to move to the corner dark square where it starts the game, anyways, it can't go to this one, and it starts over there. So you just go down. Great work. The rook returned to a starting square. And you move the rook to its starting square. Now move the other one to the square where it began the game. So this one, the rooks begin the game over here at the sides. Now let's move the knight back into its original square, right next to the rook. So right over there. And then the same one, it would just go on the other side. Now we have to move this bishop back into its starting square, which is right next to the knight. So we're going to place it right there. So we're setting the bishop back to its starting square now, this other bishop, and go there. Because it just lines versus rook, knight, and then bishop, and then same on the other side, like a mirror image, except it's like this line in between D and E, the columns, right there. Yeah, and then you just mirror it, except the king and the queen are different. And then the queen back, and now the king back. All right, let's go to the next lesson.
In order to get better at chess, you will need to learn notation, which is often referred to as the language of chess. Every square on the chessboard has a name, which is actually just its coordinates. As we mentioned before, each column is called a file, and each row is called a rank. Every file in chess is given a letter, starting with the letter A on the left side of the board and going all the way to the letter H on the right. Every rank is given a number, starting with 1 on the white side of the board and going up to the number 8 on the black side of the board. Each square is named by its coordinate pair. Let's meet some of the squares. This square in the lower left-hand corner is known as A1. Notice we identify it with the letter first and the number second. Let's take a look and see where the E file meets with the fourth rank. Notice the arrows point at E4, so this square is known as E4. Let's draw a diagonal starting from A1 and go all the way up the board. Notice we land on the H8 square, and in between these squares we see B2, C3, D4, E5, F6, and G7. Together, this is known as the A1 to H8 diagonal, because the diagonal begins on A1 and ends on H8. Now that you've learned how to label each square on the chessboard, it's time to learn the notation of actual chess moves. Each piece
I also underlined it here if you want to take a look there also, if that helps.
has its own letter for chess notation. In this example, the king's letter is a capital K. With white to move, let's say the king is going to move to the E2 square. The way we describe that move is by saying the piece's letter first, which is capital K, then the square it moves to, E2. Remember, a piece always begins with a capital letter, and the square is always lowercase. So after the move, king E2, putting it all together, we say K, E2. Let's say black wants to play king to D7. In this case, it's the same idea. Capital K, lowercase D7. So piece, then square. K, D7. We will use the same idea for all the other pieces. The rook is a capital R, the queen, a capital Q, the bishop, a capital B. The knight, however, is a little bit different. Since the capital K is already used for the king, we use a capital N for the knight. For example, N E6. Finally, you may think that pawns are a capital P. In this case, pawns are only written as the square that they move to. For example, after the move E4, the notation is simply the square the pawn moved to, E4. Now that you've learned the language of chess, it's your turn to practice using chess notation.
All right, let's start the challenges. White wants to march a pawn up the board, play A5. So there's 2 pawns that could move. That's why it's saying play A5 as notation. So let's go. So where's the A5? The A5, and that's the A column or file, whatever you want to call it. It's right here. And then you go up to 5. And then you get to A5. So then this pawn can move up. There. Good job. So white wants to attack black's pawn on B7. Invade the 7 rank with rook D7. So we're going to B7. I'm just wondering what B7 is. Alright, let's go to rook D7. So you want to go D and then all the way there to 7. You got there. You got it. White wants to cut the black king off from the F file. So this one. Play rook F2. So rook F, and then 2. So now white can move 2 pieces to D8, play queen D8. So D, then 8, check. White can move 2 knights to E4, play knight E4. Knight E4. So which knight? Knight E4. So we can choose any. Now moving and capturing. That's next lesson.
You've already learned how to move the pieces, and we've mentioned the idea of capturing. Let's talk more about capturing. In chess, when you capture a piece, you simply move your own piece to the same square as your opponent's piece and replace their piece with your own. The captured piece is then removed from the board. You don't stop before the captured piece, you replace it entirely. Let's watch this queen capture a pawn. Now let's watch this knight jump over one of its own pieces to capture the queen. Capturing pieces is a critical part of the game. However, you do not have to capture a piece if you don't want to. That being said, if you can capture more of your opponent's pieces than they capture of yours, it's going to be much easier to win. One question about capturing that we haven't answered is, how do you notate a capture? Let's say in this position that you plan on taking the black queen with your queen on B3. A good idea. You would write the piece that will capture it, in this case, the queen. So we use a capital Q. You then write an X, which means captures. And then you write the square where the piece gets captured. So after queen takes E6, we would write Q, X, E6.
It's important you write X because if you didn't add the X, then what would happen is that it would just say Queen E6. But is it going there or is it just like placing there? Or is it capturing there? So then it's important to put the X so that you know you're capturing there instead of just moving the piece there.
Here is one more capturing question. How do we notate a pawn capturing a rook and promoting to a queen at the same time? Does it sound complicated? Don't worry, it's just one extra step. We start by notating the capture. Remember, we mark a pawn with the file that it is currently on. In this case, the pawn is on the B file. So we would write a lowercase b, then we would write captures, which is an X, so lowercase b, X, and then the square that we capture, A8, so BX A8. So far, we have BX A8. Since we are promoting to a queen, you simply add to the end of your move an equal sign and then write which piece you are promoting the pawn into, which is usually the queen. So putting it all together, we would write B takes A8 equals queen. Now it's your turn to practice capturing pieces.
All right, let's do this. Okay. White's mighty king is fighting against an army of black pieces. Can you find a capture for white? So this is pretty simple. You just tap on it, it tells you, but let's try again. Sorry. I tapped and then I might mistakenly moved. Let's see. So it can go. So basically, when you tap on it, this is only coming up. So that's this piece. White is down a queen for 2 pawns. Not so good. Can you find a capture that can turn the game around for white? Let's see. So let's see. We have this piece. This is this. Let's look at the bishop first. The pawns at the moment cannot capture anything. Let's look at the bishop. It can go there. Nothing's in its path. It can go down there. So it's not the bishop. Let's look at this knight. It can go there. Not attacking. Not attacking. Yet. Sorry, this knight doesn't go. Oh, yeah. So basically, when you go, I'm just going to notate the important ones. So, like this one. And then you have the queen over here. So basically getting a queen in return, technically. And without any captured pieces. Excellent. Now, black is up a knight. And all the white's pawns are blocked, so they can't move forward. Can you find one pawn that can capture a piece? Remember, pawns move forward but capture diagonally. So let's look at this pawn. It can attack like it's moving there, but it's blocked. It can capture there, but nothing. This one can move there, but there's none of the line there, so it can't. This pawn can capture the knight. Now, black's bishop is threatened to capture white's rook on A1. The rook is blocked by other pieces and can't move. Can you find a way to save the trapped rook? Let's see. So this bishop can't do anything, only just diagonal, which is actually kind of helpful when you go checkmating, which means we'll learn later. So, yep. So right now it's attacking. What else? When you look at this rook, it comes in its file and attack that. So in this position, white has several captures, but only one of them is good. Can you find what's best capture? So it has several captures. Wait, this one? Yeah, okay, well, I'll find one that's good. So let's see. When you capture up here, what would happen is that oopsie daisies, a pawn will take. Now we look at the other pawn, it's safe. Wait, what? Oh, sorry, it was unprotected. Sorry. It's this one. Ha, silly me. Let's do now. Next time we'll be learning about how to do the next lesson, which is check. Hopefully you enjoy this video. Bye. Bye. Also, I just need to send you guys homework. So first go to this tab, searchchess.com, and then log in. You want to go to the lesson section, and then it's loading. If you want to be one lesson ahead, we're done with this one. So you want to go playing the game. It's loading. There. So the language of check, moving pieces. So what we want to do is, all right. So what I want you guys to do is that I want you to do moving and capturing, and maybe the language of chess is that's a little hard in practice. And if you want to be ahead, um you can do the next lesson, which is check, I think. So you can do that if you want, but it's just optional. So you don't have to do it. It's just to improve your understanding of chess. So bye. Hopefully you enjoy this video and see you in the next lesson.